Certainly a fantastic avenue for a great editorial and one that literally wakes us up.
This is our society,
correct,
and it will take me and you to do it. That's why I always watch Johnnie's Bite.
The general watches Johnnie's Bite
every day.
Thank you very much.
And it's devoid of insults, but straight to the point, factual and fearless.
What he seeks to do is to bring attention to some of the ills or some of the problems that we have, and even though it's often very spicy, I was telling him that he could add some ketchup on the side.
Oh, you should add some ketchup. It's too hot for you, eh?
Too hot.
I don't get surprised when people criticize you, but I think you are doing a good job.
Thank you, sir.
And don't at all think about what people will say. Continue with the objective work that you are doing, and definitely it will help this nation, because you are not doing it for yourself, but what Ghanaians cannot say is what you are saying.
Charlie, no be joke. The pressure people like Johnnie can give you.
No.
You no get grey hair, you go get grey hair.
I'm innocent.
And that's what I'm saying. That the pressure Johnnie and his people, the pressure they can give you, you no get grey hair, you go get. So your best bet is not to have hair.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Hasbanallah wa ni'ma wakil. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows, and surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Johnnie's Bite. It's Wednesday, and I've titled today's edition of the Bite, IMF Akwaba Nana Kasa. IMF Akwaba Nana Kasa. That's what I'm speaking on today. And by government's own announcement, the International Monetary Fund, whom we have initiated calls to through our president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, will arrive in the country today. In fact, the IMF are always here with us, but a special delegation will arrive today in the country to start conversations about whether or not we deserve the bailout, because that's what we have been told that they're coming in to do, and to support our homegrown programs and all the conversations. I've seen Mr. Bright Simmons of the Imani Africa challenging that it's not just the balance of payments support that we are looking forward to, but there's also some debt issues and the wider conversation about the economy. So welcome to the IMF team, and I hope that they are not the small boys, as Mr. Otrebefi, Deputy Minister for Trade, has told us that usually when you go to IMF, or anybody asking us to go to IMF, would have been inviting or would be inviting the small boys. This morning, I'm saying that for national consensus, and this is important because, like Mr. Kennedy Japan says, the same people who led us down this ditch cannot be the same people leading us out of it, because if they knew their way out of that ditch, they wouldn't have led us into it in the very first place. And here I'm paraphrasing. So our present economic management team, and I reiterate it because government has purpose in its heart that for 3 solid days we are going to have government officials jump from one media house to the other to tell the people why it is not their fault. And I'm wondering why government is blaming everybody else but themselves. Have you heard the government blame themselves and say, oh, as for this one, we got it wrong? Since the IMF conversation started last Friday, have you heard any government official say, as for this one, we got it wrong? They are blaming everybody else. They are blaming Russia. They are blaming Ukraine. They are blaming COVID. They are blaming the minority for putting spokes in the wheels of the achievement of the target for the e-levy. They are blaming the citizenry for trying to avoid the e-levy tax. They are blaming everybody but themselves. Meanwhile, me and you, or you and I, actually have no business in running this country. Stricto sensu. You and I have no business running this country. You and I have not been given the responsibility, the duty to run this country. Ours is to pay taxes. Ours is to be good citizens. Ours is to draw the attention of leadership when they get it wrong or when they are going the wrong path. And we have done that. I pay my taxes. I'm sure you pay your taxes as well. We are good citizens. We don't commit no crimes. But when we call the attention of government that you're going the wrong direction, they say, shut up. We know what we're doing. Today, like the story of the crippling plant, the noisy bird, and the tortoise, we are all involved. And if you don't know that story, I'll tell you, maybe you are too young. But I read it in primary 5 or primary 4. I remember it was in one of our textbooks that Mr. Arno at St. Nicholas Preparatory School taught me. And he made us read that once upon a time there was a tortoise, there was a crippling plant, and then there was a noisy bird. And this bird would always be singing and whistling and making all the noise. And whenever the tortoise or the climbing plant or crippling plant asked him to keep quiet, he said, oh, please, mind your business. Oh, please, mind your business. Is it your singing? Is it your whistling? Oh, get out, mind your business. One day, an hunter was in the forest looking for his game, heard the bird whistling, and then aimed, fired at the bird and hit. The bird found nowhere else to fall, fell right where the tortoise was. So when the hunter moved there to go and pick the bird, he also saw the tortoise. He aimed for one and got two because the bird refused to listen. Now he had to tie them. Guess what he used? The crippling plant. So we have been telling government that this is the problem. But government has not listened to us. You remember in the first administration, when the vice president had told us that we are coming, and as a country we're coming on, if you have that video played up, get that video ready for me, where the vice president said that we're coming on 100 days of achievement, and that by the close of the first administration, we'll be using our own resources and will not be depending on anybody. Ghana beyond aid, Ghana beyond help, Ghana beyond begging. Today, here we are. We told the president that you have an elephant-sized government. Cut it down. He says, I know what I'm doing. After the first 4 years, what were the results? We set up a whole special initiatives ministry. Give them all the money. 1 million per constituency. Where's the money? Where is it? We set up IPEP projects. And recently, when we went to the Volta region, after the Keta and Loga, Ketu South people were displaced by the tidal waves and all of that, we saw an IPEP project that has been turned into a pigsty. Cookie and I, we saw it. In Prekobuo, that's what the 20-seater toilet facility for persons living with disability had become. In Prekobuo, it's not been completed. But on paper, I am sure we have finished it. So when we started talking and asking questions and calling for a reshuffle, we nobody listened. And I'm saying that now that we have hit this snag, we have gotten to the point where the hunter has shot the bird. He has come to pick the bird and found the tortoise and decided to cut the crippling plant to tie it to take home. We must do a few things. Number one, we must cut out that propaganda and the political gimmick that we are put into it. We know that in this country, winner takes all has entered our head and confused us to the point where NDC wins power, it's just NDC people they are using. MPP wins power, it's just MPP people they are using. And that is what is failing this country. So even when people obviously at the vetting table are not able to answer the question, they have no idea about the roles that they are being given, they still will be endorsed to go and practice as ministers. Now, if you're a minister and you don't know the direction in which you are headed, can you give the chief director any kind of commonsensical approach and technical advice on anything? You will end up misleading the ministry. And we have seen too many of those ones. Teachers are asking for cola today. IMF, and I'm raising these questions because IMF will be in the country. And IMF has to hear some of these things. IMF has to hear some of these things. Teachers are asking for their monies. A deputy minister is telling them that, well, during COVID, we decided to pay you for no work done. Really? Really? You paid teachers for no work done? I thought that some politicians were also working from home and taking their pay. Were they also being paid for no work done? Teachers were doing online classes. Were they being paid for no work done? When school reopened, teachers were asked to teach for extra hours without extra pay. Was it still for no work done? Adjoa Safo is still outside for more than a year. We're paying her. In fact, we gave her ex gratia as of the last count in 2021. Was it for no work done? Sometimes when we want to speak to people who are agitating for what is rightfully theirs, we need to be measured in the way we talk to people. A soft answer turneth away wrath. That's in the Bible. The president came to power on the back of the Bible. The battle is the Lord's. So IMF, welcome. The same set of people, the Kenoforiates, the Greek ministers, the Couture says, the Alan Tremantins, the Professor Jambafos, the Vice President Baumia, the senior presidential advisor or former senior minister Yaosafo Mafu must not be the one sitting at the table to negotiate with the IMF. No. The national consensus is important. And even if they have to be there at that table, we must add people from the other side, respected economists from the other side, and even from within the MPP who are not close to the seat of power for obvious reasons, because when they talk, nobody listens. We must bring all of them to the table because now what we have gotten to, the bird has been shot, it has fallen close to the tortoise, it's been tied together by the crippling or with the crippling plant, and the hunter is going home to enjoy the bounty. How do we save the rest of the animals in the forest? That's the conversation. Danny, remind us, take us to Dr. Baumia listing 100 days of achievement of the government. It's been more than 100 days in this second term. What has been the achievement?
For the first time in our history, Ghana has successfully issued a national ID card. For the first time in our history, Ghana has a digital property address system. For the first time in our history, Ghana has mobile money interoperability. For the first time in our history, any Ghanaian who has a national ID card can open a traditional bank account using their mobile phone. For the first time in our history, over 80% of adults in Ghana have tax identification numbers. For the first time in our history, Ghana is using drones for the delivery of critical medicines and blood. For the first time in our history, Ghana is implementing one district, one factory. And our government has facilitated the establishment of more factories than any other government since independence. For the first time in our history, Ghana has paperless clearing at our ports. We have digitized for the first time in our history the passport acquisition process. We have digitized for the first time in our history the acquisition of driver's licenses. For the first time in our history, we have implemented a Ghana.gov platform. And people can renew for the first time in our history their NHIS membership on the mobile phone. For the first time in our history, we can apply for scholarships on the mobile phone. For the first time in our history, Ghanaians can apply for scholarships on their mobile phones. For the first time in our history, Ghanaian students will be able to apply for student loans without the need for a guarantor. For the first time in our history, government is implementing a pension scheme for cocoa farmers. For the first time in our history, Ghanaians and law enforcement can find out the insurance status of any vehicle using the motor insurance database on your mobile phone. For the first time in our history, Ghanaians were provided free electricity for lifeline consumers for a year at the height of the COVID pandemic. For the first time in our history, Ghanaians were provided the 50% reduction for non-lifeline consumers. For the first time in our history, Ghanaians were provided free water for their year during the COVID pandemic. For the first time in our history, we provided Wi-Fi to 700 senior high schools and 13 public universities. For the first time in our history, Ghanaian pensioners can obtain their SNIT pensions just after 10 days after application for their pensions. For the first time in our history, a nationwide e-pharmacy will be launched in the next few weeks. For the first time in our history, Ghana has implemented one constituency, one ambulance. For the first time in our history, we have implemented the Zongo Development Fund. For the first time in our history, we are implementing one district, one hospital under the Agenda 111. For the first time in our history, we are implementing free TVET and have established the Ghana TVET service. And for the first time in our history, we have implemented free senior high school education.
The government has achieved so much that under normal circumstances, nobody should be complaining. But the question is, what has been the impact of these achievements being touted by no less a person than the lead of the economic management team and vice president, number 2 most powerful man in the country? What has been the impact of these on the lives of the people? Because if all of these things have really been done and done well, the people shouldn't be complaining. We shouldn't be going to IMF because these are very, very instructive things that have been achieved. So it means that at some point, maybe we whitewashed a lot of things and presented it to the people. And I'm saying the campaigns are over. Now it's time for us to work. We will vote in 2024. Until that time, how do the people survive? As we go to IMF today, for national consensus sake, we must bring on the independent experts, number 1. We have former finance ministers in this country. Ghana's longest serving finance minister, Professor Kwesi Botwe. Somebody find him, put him on that table. Find Sir Tekpe, put him on that table. Find Dr. Kwabena Dufo, put him on that table. Find former finance ministers within the MPP, put them on that table. Find Dr. Kutuose, put him on that table. Let's not leave it to the same people who have brought us this far. Let's bring on fresh ideas, because at some point, human beings, we get saturated. And when you get saturated, new ideas fail to flow in. So IMF is in. We are happy to go and meet them. Don't go and still meet them with the same people who have cocked up ideas sometimes and think that they are the only ones who know how to do it all. We have brains in this country. The president was right. We have the men, but the men are not just MPP people. The men are also in civil service, civil society. The men are also in academia. The men are also in the opposition and the opposition parties. Let's fish out and look out for them. So I'm saying independent experts, former finance ministers, and the Finance Committee of Parliament should be involved. There's a reason you have a ranking member, chairman, deputy ranking, you check their background, all of them have finance. Put them on. One of the key people within the MPP who, for example, I feel very sad, and 2 people actually, Kweku Kwating and Dr. Makesibe Eboa. Dr. Makesibe and Kweku Kwating, why they have been relegated to the background, it hurts me. But having covered Parliament, you sometimes listen to the arguments they are making. And even as a non-economics and finance person, you appreciate what they say because they water it down to your level. Include them. They should be involved in the negotiations. Today, as we go to meet IMF, it should not be the same story as ever. They should be involved in the negotiations with the IMF. The people like Bright Simmons of Imani, put them at the table, widen the gap, invite new ideas. And while we're at it, Mr. President, while we say Akwaba to IMF, Mr. President, Nana Kasa. About a week ago, I told you, Mr. President, that as a father, when there's trouble in your home and you refuse to speak to your children or your family, it means 2 things. Either you don't care or somebody has advised you not to care. And I'm not sure that your advisors will tell you not to care. This is the time when we want to hear you speak. We didn't vote for Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, so if he writes a press release, we didn't vote for him. We didn't vote for Ken Ofori-Atta. If he writes a press release to send out modalities, we didn't vote for any of your ministers. We didn't vote for Dr. Bawumia. We voted for you, Mr. President. And if your people are in trouble, they are in distress, they are in pain, and we can't see you. Recently, you addressed ECOWAS, Mr. President. You have addressed everybody in this world, aside your own people. You have not addressed your own people. Apart from your own people, you have addressed everybody. You have addressed ECOWAS, AU, you have gone to Glasgow, you have gone to UN, you have addressed everybody. But the people who made you president, which gives you the impetus to go around addressing people. Why? You have refused to meet the press of the country, but you are granting interviews to BBC, Al Jazeera, everybody else. What have we done? That the people who gave you power cannot have audience with you, sir? That's a no-no. And whoever is advising you to avoid us is doing you a lot of harm, because the legacy that you want to leave is becoming porous. And President, the embarrassment that was caused you when you had the conversation with BBC not so long ago, when you told Peter Okoche that our economy was not in tatters, is coming back to hit you. Perhaps, Mr. President, if you had done a little sparring with local media, not friendly local media, as they like to call it, but local media who are critical of you, you would have gotten a hint of some of those questions. And then when you go out, we would not have all been brought to that total embarrassment of global shame. Mr. President, speak to the press. And Mr. President, you have appointed people and you are paying them monies at the presidency, a whole media team. Let them organize one fellow Ghanaians for us. Nana Kasa, IMF Akwaba, good morning.